Hi is back again on the 2Kukyu channel. Today, we're diving into a story that's not only captivating but also heart-wrenching. A story rarely revealed to the public. Wang Yibo finally lifts the veil on his past wounds, and the first person he chose to share his story with is Xiao Zhan. This isn't just an ordinary conversation. It's a moment rich in meaning, filled with emotion, and a turning point for both of them. Up until now, the public has known Wang Yibo as a quiet, mysterious individual who rarely shares anything about himself outside of the stage. He prefers to let his work and achievements speak for themselves. However, behind his calm gaze and faint smile lies a long-held story he has kept tightly locked away. A tale of loneliness, loss, and betrayal that once tore his heart apart in the past. That moment occurred as night fell. The two of them sat on the balcony of an inn, far from the hustle and bustle of cameras and stage lights. The night breeze carried the lingering scent of rain, while the city lights twinkled in the distance. Xiao Zhan, who is usually cheerful, suddenly fell silent, as if sensing something heavy weighing on his friend's heart. Yibo stared blankly at the sky, his voice almost drowned out by the rustling wind. I once felt like everyone had left me, even the person I thought would always be there. The words came out slowly, like someone finally daring to open a box that had been locked all this time. Xiao Zhan turned his head, his eyes sharp yet full of curiosity, waiting for the rest of the story without interrupting. What Wang Yibo shared that night was not just an ordinary heartbreak. He had been betrayed by someone he trusted completely, not only personally, but also in his career. The promises made at the beginning, the support that seemed sincere, all crumbled away. He was left alone at the lowest point of his life. I learned not to trust easily anymore, he said, taking a deep breath. But that also made me even lonelier. I closed myself off, even from those who were truly sincere. At that moment, Xiao Zhan simply listened, without judgment, without trying to offer advice. He knew that sometimes what someone needed wasn't an answer, but simply presence. Xiao Zhan then handed him a cup of warm tea he had prepared earlier. I don't know exactly what kind of pain you're going through, he said softly, but I know what it feels like when the world seems to turn its back on you. Those words made Yibo look at him for the first time that night, as if he had found a mirror reflecting the same wounds. Both of them had lived lives that weren't always smooth. Popularity and public scrutiny often made people forget that they were also human, with the same fears, disappointments, and fatigue as everyone else. At this point, Yibo began to feel that perhaps, only in front of Xiao Zhan could he truly let down his guard. The story continued. Yibo admitted that he had spent months avoiding contact with anyone outside of work. He buried all his disappointment and chose to focus on work, hoping the pain would fade on its own. But the reality was, the more he suppressed it, the heavier the burden felt. Sometimes I think if I speak up, people will just see me as weak, Yibo whispered softly. Xiao Zhan smiled faintly. If acknowledging your wounds makes you weak, then we're all weak. But it's the courage to speak up that makes us strong. Those words were like a small light shining in Yibo's heart. He realized that trust was fragile, but that didn't mean it couldn't be given again. Xiao Zhan, with his patience, slowly became an emotional anchor that gave Yibo the courage to open up again. That night dragged on. They talked about things that rarely left Yibo's lips, about the fear of loss, about the dreams he had once abandoned, and about how one betrayal could change the way he viewed the world. Each word flowed, accompanied by long pauses, as if Yibo was weighing every memory he shared. Xiao Zhan wasn't just a listener, he was also a reminder. He shared how he had gone through difficult times himself, and that it was okay to lean on others occasionally. There was a mutual understanding that didn't need to be explained in detail. As dawn began to break, the sky slowly changed color. Yibo gazed at the horizon with a different feeling. Perhaps the wound hadn't fully healed, but he knew there was someone who would stay by his side, listening to every word without judgment. That heartfelt encounter changed many things. Since that night, Yibo began to open up more. He no longer feared sharing bits and pieces about himself, at least with those he truly trusted. Xiao Zhan became an important part of that healing process. This story is not about two big stars sharing their stories. It is the story of two people who found the meaning of trust in a world often filled with deception. About how past wounds, when shared with the right person, can gradually become lighter. And for Yibo, that night marked a new beginning. He no longer walked alone down the long corridor of his life. There were other footsteps beside him, keeping the rhythm steady so he wouldn't stumble again. In the entertainment world, where everything is under the spotlight, moments like this are rare. But behind the scenes, behind the smiles on stage, there is a heartwarming story of friendship and proof that genuine support can come at the most unexpected times. For us who hear it, Yibo and Xiao Zhan's story is a reminder that no matter how strong we may seem, we all need someone who is willing to listen. And sometimes, one ear willing to listen is more valuable than 1,000 words of comfort. Ultimately, this story is not about sadness, but about hope. That even though the past may have caused pain, the future always has room for healing, as long as we dare to open our hearts to the right person. From that moment on, their relationship was never the same. There was an invisible yet powerful bond that made Yibo always know where to turn when his heart felt heavy again. Xiao Zhan, on the other hand, never forced himself, but was always present in a calm and reassuring way. Their silence could even feel meaningful, as if trust filled the space between them. Many believed that behind the scenes of the entertainment industry, true friendship was impossible. Yet the two proved otherwise. Yibo began to realize that not everyone would leave when things got tough. There were rare individuals who chose to stay, even when the storm hit. The days that followed brought small but meaningful changes. Yibo, who usually kept to himself, began sharing lighthearted stories with his colleagues. He laughed a little more often, and his gaze no longer always pierced into the distance. Xiao Zhan noticed the change, and though he never said it outright, he was proud. However, the journey of healing is not a straight path. There were nights when the shadows of the past returned to haunt Yibo. That was when he would contact Xiao Zhan, not to discuss the issues deeply, but simply to hear the voice that gave him a sense of security. And as usual, Xiao Zhan would respond with a gentle tone, making the world feel a little more peaceful. One day, as they sat in the corner of a small cafe, Yibo spoke softly. "I thought I had forgotten what it felt like to trust. But it turns out I was just waiting for the right person to awaken it again." The words were brief, yet rich in meaning. Xiao Zhan simply smiled, understanding that it was a sincere expression of gratitude. They knew the outside world might never truly grasp the depth of their connection. The public spotlight would always try to speculate, adding drama to a story that was actually simple. Two people looking out for each other amidst the glitz that sometimes blinded them. But for Yibo and Xiao Zhan, the truth was theirs alone. Seasons changed, new projects came and went, but the foundation of their friendship remained strong. Yibo no longer felt alone when facing immense pressure. He knows there is someone who reminds him that he is more than just a camera's spotlight, more than just a public figure others see. And perhaps that is the true beauty of this story. It's not just about one person rediscovering the courage to believe, but also about two hearts watching